Okay, we're live.
Live. Good job.
Michael, this is, to me, I think one of the greatest sporting events about to take place, the Los Angeles Dodgers versus the New York Yankees. And, we've been trading players across the country, all over the U.S. with SportStar Relocation. And we get to see behind the scenes what really happens with these guys. But to be a part of this kind of emotional series, I think is very exciting. I thought, I got to call you up. And then I thought I'd bring in Miguel, our local Dodger aficionado. I think he knows a thing or two about the Yankees. But I think the first question I had to ask you, are you excited that the Yankees are in, being from New York City?
The Yankees are in, ho-hum. The Yankees are in a lot. I'm an Ets guy. Mets, Jets, Nets. Yankees,
Wow.
It's like rooting for Goliath. Same with the Dodgers, though, right?
It hasn't always been that way. The Dodgers did have a lot of down years in the 90s and the 2000s. And when the Guggenheim Group came in, it kind of changed everything. But there's a lot of pain that comes with being a Dodger fan. And this new era is, very welcomed. But I wouldn't say that the Dodgers are the same type of behemoth that the Yankees are.
How do you end up an Nets fan in New York City? Are you from a certain part of the island, or what happens?
I grew up in Queens. My wife affectionately refers to me as the poor schlub from Queens. And I would be able to, as a kid, take a long walk to Shea Stadium. And so I've always been an Ets guy between the Mets and the Jets and the Nets. Those are, I bleed jet green. I Met blue. The Yankees.
Well, I send my sincere condolences to the beating we made you take.
The Yankees are the evil empire. But that being said, I am a New Yorker. The Dodgers spurned us for Los Angeles. Screw them.
Yeah. So I have to ask you, Miguel. I had to have you sit in here because I know you know a lot about baseball. But this is a great series. Apparently not a Yankees fan. I thought I could get a good bet against him. Maybe he's got to wear Dodger blue for a week in his office. You can wear Met blue. I guess you'd be comfortable with that. How do you see this series going? Not that you know everything about sports, but you certainly watch the Dodgers as much as anybody.
I do. And I think the series against the Padres was probably the defining series for the National League, right? And that series gave the Dodgers a sense of edge. There have been some reports coming out of the clubhouse that series created a cohesiveness, a unity amongst the team that is different than what they've seen in years past. Sorry, Michael, but we had to put a beat down on the Mets. But
you bring up a good point, because I'll tell you, there's no team I've watched closer than the Lakers and the LA Kings from the number of clients I've represented on the team that were active during championship years. And when you kind of get behind the scenes and see how they're talking about the team, how they're reacting to the locker room banter that goes on, I've been there in the years where it's been very fractured and they don't win. And I've been there in the years where you hear the cohesiveness and players calling players on the phone and like supporting each other. And it's uncanny, the power of the locker room. Not that we get to go in there very much, but we do at least to get to hear bits and pieces of it in this seat. So what have you heard about the Dodger locker room, and have you heard anything about your locker room, Michael?
So what I've heard about the Dodger locker room is one thing that they decided to do differently with the San Diego series. Normally the team, they drive individually to San Diego and back. But this year, it might have been Max Muncy that had suggested that the team ride together on the bus. And they've been flying together on the plane. the families, wives and children fly in a separate plane. So they're all staying together. And on the 5 days off that they had from the end of the season to the start of the divisional series, they reported to the stadium every day, every player on the team, and they hung out and they, played ping pong and watched the other series go on. And they were just there together and worked out. So I think that sort of the brotherhood, the fraternity that's created by just simply being together is kind of, having an impact on their performance on the field. The other thing, to your point, Ed, I believe this is the first time in the new wild card format where the 2 1 seeds have advanced to the World Series. Normally it's like a 5 seed. We saw it last year with the Diamondbacks. And I think it's those teams that are scratching and clawing every day in September to try to eke out a playoff spot. They develop an edge and they develop a unity, and that carries on into the postseason. We've seen it year after year, but this is the first year we've seen 2 1 seeds.
Yeah, interesting. Michael, is New York. I just was out there for my 30th anniversary with my wife and got to spend some time in the city, but I haven't been there enough to really understand how to get around that friggin' place. I tried cabs and they were actually longer than walking. Walking was faster. So from players that live out there, do they live in the city? Do they go outside the city? Where do they choose to live?
You know what? Each player is different. Before I get to that, it's interesting, Miguel. You talk about the locker room and teamwork. The question I often ask is it the teamwork and the camaraderie that creates the success, or does the success on the field foster there being good vibes in the locker room? And it's hard to know, chicken and egg, which comes first.
Yeah, and I think the Mets were a good case study of that this year, right? Because they were 11 games under 500 at one point, and then they had all the, the grimace thing and the "Oh my God" song, and they kind of they started rolling. What was your take on that? What did you see that kind of sparked them?
You know what? It's when you start playing some good ball and you feel good about yourself, and this is baseball, this is football, this is basketball, this is any team sport. When winning is a cure to all evil, is a cure to all bad. So I think that the fact that we've got the 2 number 1 teams in the American and National League, I think it'll be a great series. Getting back to your point, Ed, about how to get around here, where do players live? New York City is different than almost any place else I've been in the United States, in that in Manhattan anyway, you don't travel by car. You travel by subway. You travel by public transportation.
Aaron Judge doesn't run a subway, does he?
Say that again?
Does Aaron Judge go on the subway?
That's what I was going to say. It is an adjustment for the players to live here. And many of them choose to live near the facility or near the stadium, or in the suburbs if they've got families. Each player is different. Each need is different. Young single guys want to be in Manhattan, and they'll pay the $900 a month to park their car and drive to the stadium because that's a lifestyle that they choose. If you're here visiting, you probably don't know your way around to take the subway, but the subway is the best way to get around. It's an adjustment for players coming here who haven't grown up here because the lifestyle is just different. You don't get into your car and go to the grocery store and get groceries. What you do, and we've been doing it for years, is order it online or order it by the phone and have it delivered to you. That's sort of caught on in the rest of the world.
It makes a lot of sense. LA's actually has its own set of problems on the same token because geographically we are massive, right? the closer you get into the city, call it the West Side, Beverly Hills, Hollywood, it feels as congested as New York City when it comes to traffic. And you want to go 2 miles and you look at your Waze app and it says it's 38 minutes away. It's insane. So the players are choosing multiple things. They either want to be close to the stadium where they're playing, or they're the opposite and they want to come down to the beach where it's chill, there's no paparazzi, it's beautiful, the homes are comfortable, it's close to the airport, but they're going to have to get on the freeway and drive for 45 minutes to get to play.
So one of the biggest problems that we have, and I wonder if you have it as well, Ed, the players who aren't from here usually want to be here for the season, and then they want to return to where they are from, their families. And so the idea of taking a 1-year lease, well, first of all, it's leasing properties way more frequently than purchasing, because nothing is permanent the way purchasing a home can be permanent. So if it's leasing, nobody wants to pay for a year's lease when the season isn't a year long. And most landlords in my world want to hold people to a year's lease. So that's one of the issues all the time.
In LA, we found that one or two things happens. We try to get out of lease language in our contracts. If they're traded, the season ends, things like that, they can get out with a 30-day notice and they're comfortable paying a 30-day extra in rent to get out of their lease. And that's helped a lot of our clients. But the other thing is catching the market at the right time. We're finding in many cases, they can actually buy a home, be in it a year, have a good appreciating market, and do one or two things. Lease it back to a player that's coming in, which happens. We've traded beds literally with one player to another, even one team to another, because we have so many teams here. Or they just made money and they sold it, or the opposite of what you said, where they want to go home. They fall in love with Los Angeles and they're like, I don't want to go home in the off season. I want to hang out here. And so they do want to keep that as a permanent home.
One of the things that I've had success with is speaking to on-site rental agents or speaking to landlords and letting them know that we've got a little bit of a celebrity who's interested in this place, but they need they need an escape clause in their lease.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's an athlete can make the difference. And there are landlords who are a little starstruck about the prospect of having a professional ball player live in their property. It's a magnet, and people talk about it.
Yeah, I think it creates a little provenance for the property in the future that, Joe Namath stayed here or whatever the name. I don't think Joe would be playing anymore, right? He's out.
He's done.
He's done. He's a Jet, right? He was a Jet.
Once you're a Jet, you're a Jet all the way. Yes.
So that's really true. Well, listen, it was good catching up, Michael. I do wish your team well and hope they are good losers, and we're excited to watch it all take place. I know it's going to be a challenging series. The Yankees are a good ball club. There's no question. But I do.
And my hope is that it goes 7 games and both teams lose. How's that?
Yeah.
No.
What do you project?
I've got the Dodgers in 4. I don't think it's good. I don't think they're going to stand a chance.
Well, there you have it. This
Let's
is
see how their pitching holds up. It'll be a great series.
We got a bullpen.
Thank you for having me. This is awesome.
Michael's great. Thanks for catching up, and good luck to you out there.
Speak to you soon. Bye.
See ya. Bye. Okay, we're going to end this.